Today, there are countless different church denominations, types, families, streams all around the world. And we're blessed to be part of the Vineyard movement, which is just one part of the wider body of Christ. Now, we absolutely don't claim to have all the answers or to be the best. We're just a particular flavour of church. But we do have a set of values that underpin how we do church and how we do worship. We also have a heritage, a history when it comes to worship, and there's a real wealth and a depth and a legacy in the movement, which informs how we worship and how we write songs today. In this video, I'd like to lay out some of that heritage and suggest how it might impact and influence our songwriting. I'm a history teacher, so I can't resist having a little history lesson. So, the Vineyard came out of the charismatic renewal movement in America, particularly in the 1970s and 1980s. There was a whole group of people involved, but the man who spearheaded it was John Wimber. Now, John Wimber himself was a musician, as well as being a pastor and a church pioneer, and this helped facilitate the value that this new movement had for worship. When they met in their homes, there was a real hunger, a desire for the presence of God, and an intimacy in their worship. Many of those present were tired, they were burnt out, they were stretched, they were in deep spiritual need, and they recognized that they needed the work of the Spirit in their lives. They needed times of worship that gave time for God to work, times of waiting on Him, letting Him meet them where they were and to transform them. The songs that they sung were often simple but profound. They were contemporary style for the time. The lyrics, the language, the vocabulary that they used were the vocabulary that people would use in their everyday lives as much as possible, which would allow for accessibility. And perhaps most importantly, they sang songs to God, not just about God. There was an intimacy, an awareness that we as Christians are deeply loved by God and that our worship is a response to the revelation of His love. Now, some of the songs that have come out of the Vineyard worship movement, both in the USA and in the UK, have been translated into multiple languages. They blessed millions across the world. Songs like Hungry, Breathe, I Surrender, Pour Out My Heart, Draw Me Close, Holy and Anointed, could go on for ages. I'm sure I've missed some of your favourites out. Amazing songs that have been sung by many people. Now, this is the DNA of Vineyard worship. This is where we come from. And it's easy for us to take that for granted because what we call contemporary worship was heavily influenced by the songs and style of Vineyard. You can walk into many churches across our city, across the country, across the world actually, and you'll see a similar style, similar song being sung. But when we write songs, we should be aware that we're writing them in a rich tradition. We're not looking to live in the glory days of the past or copy exactly what has happened before, but we are writing in a tradition and being inspired by those values. Those values are really important. You can learn more about them elsewhere, and I'll try and do some videos on them in the future. But very quickly, those Vineyard values are intimacy. That's the profound connection and conversation that goes on between a God who loves us and loves to be with us. Secondly, accessibility. Songs that could be sung by everyone and express our heart's desires. Thirdly, integrity. We want to have right theology, but we also need righteous lives. Our calling is that our lives honour God every day, and we need songs that can help equip us for that. Fourthly, kingdom expectation. When we worship, we sing with the expectation that the kingdom will break through into our lives and into the lives of our friends and family. And finally, passion. We want to write songs that allow us to express our joy, our gratitude, our delight in God for all that He is and all that He has done. That's our heritage, that's our DNA. So I'd encourage you to take time to explore those values. There's plenty more resources out there. Learn about them, study them, pray about them, write about them. They will help shape your songwriting. As we explore what we value, Jesus will inspire us and he will deepen our relationships with him.